Okay, so like I said, and like we've done in the past, we need to make sure that we have our beige packet out so that we can go over the questions I assigned you yesterday. And if there are any questions that you let me know. Also, again, there's a lot of questions from yesterday. There was 10. Many of them could get down to a 50-50 shot. And I want to make sure that you understand that going into the final, and also, again, for the future, if you ever take multiple choice exams, it's good to know kind of how to work backwards on some of these. Okay, so the very first one you had was number 21. So make sure that you're checking your work, making sure that you're following along. Decide if the function is exponential growth or decay. That should be automatically given a 50-50 shot from left to right. It's growing. Okay, so if it's growing, I can cancel out B right away. So I'm looking at A and C now. Now looking at A and C. Look at your answer choices. They both have infinity and 0. Again, using your multiple choice to guide you to get the correct answer. So this is in the beige packet, number 21. On the left side, where is the graph going? Well, if it was going to positive infinity, it would be shooting up. But it's not. It's going to 0. On the other side, it's going to be going to positive infinity on the right side. So as x gets bigger, the function, the y values get bigger, and that's why it's C. But again, you could add a 50-50 shot just knowing that it was not decay. That's huge. Okay, 22. Taking a look here, I talked to you guys yesterday about that asymptote. This plus sign means right. This negative sign means left. Well, look at the graph. It's on the right side. The whole function is on the right side. So this one's gone. And again, now you're down to a 50-50 shot. Okay. Then B says, as x is going to the asymptote from the right side, it's going down, and then it's going to be going up. Okay. All right. Then you had 25, all the way to here. Okay. This one, I really like this one for a couple of reasons. In this situation, it says describe the transformations. Some people get tricked up on the right 3. A lot of people tend to say left 3 because it's negative. If that happens, but take a look here. It says this plus 6. I feel like a lot of you right away will say plus is going up. Well, the only option that has up is C. Okay, so even if you get stuck on this one, you should know it's up 6, and that's why C is literally the only choice then. Okay, it's 26. Reflected, I wrote some notes for you for B and C. If I said, hey, which one's left 2, you should be able to select B. If I say, hey, which one's right 2, you should be able to select C. Okay. B could be canceled out right away because it doesn't reflect. Reflect has to have that negative all the way out in front. Okay. 27. A couple of people were struggling with this one. But again, down to a 50-50 shot. From left to right, the function is increasing. It's going up. The y values are getting bigger. Okay, so now again, that means that C is gone. When you're down to the 50-50 shot, take a look. Here is 0. 0 to infinity would be here in green. Well, there's no function over here at 0, but there is a function over here at 3, and that's why that's the answer. Okay, next one. What is true about a log function? Again, there's your asymptote at 0. Okay, so that means your domain is 0 to infinity. Okay, when it comes to logs, your range is always all real numbers. So that one's gone. Okay. All right, 29. We're talking about exponential functions now. Remember, the domain of all exponentials are all real numbers. That's why A is gone. Like, that's just something that automatically left to right, it's going to be all real numbers. Okay, now B, the range is from negative infinity to 0. So I want to make sure that you understand like what that question is saying. Negative infinity is down here. Negative infinity to 0 would be something like this. Here's negative infinity and it goes to 0. That's what that range would represent. Okay, so, well, it doesn't do that. It goes from that 0 up to positive. Okay, so that one you can get down to a 50-50 shot. And also, again, where is your arrow pointing? Up. So you should have positive infinity into your answer. If it was pointing down, you would have negative infinity in your answer. Okay, 30. Now, if you didn't know how to do this one, you could get out your graphing calculator and type into y equals, and you would have gotten your answer. You wouldn't have had to do any kind of math. But remember, from left to right, it's growing, and this is the only one that is growing, which is B. Okay, 31. Translate it down 4. I think that one's pretty straightforward. When you look at your answer choices, even if you had no clue what an asymptote is, use your logic, please. Down 4 would never be positive. Okay, down 4 would always be negative. Okay, that's why y is equal to -4. There's really no trick answer here. Okay, so again, use your logic skills. If I said up 4, you would have selected B. Okay, do you have any questions on those ones? That's all you had from yesterday. Yeah. 26 was A, yes. Okay. Other questions? Okay, orange packet. So these should be fairly new because you already did this recently within the past month. Okay, so I want to make sure that we do the ones that you need to have for your final exam. Okay, so go ahead and get out your orange packet to chapter 1. We only have today and tomorrow left to study together, and then the rest of the time would be yours. Remember, Tuesday is going to be that end of this school year party. I'm going to provide hot dogs. If you provide your own drinks, that would be great. Also, if you want to bring a snack for yourself on the side, that's okay too. Okay, so let's talk about these ones. All right, coming back slowly. Identify the mean and the standard deviation. The mean, very straightforward. That should be something that should be able to give you like a 50-50 shot. You should know what the mean is. That's right there in the middle. Okay, that is my mean. Okay, so it's 10.5 in this situation. I'm going to write the mean there so that you remember that that's what that symbol means. Standard deviation, however, some people kind of get confused on that. They don't realize, how do I get over to the next spot? See, it says it's time to replace your lamp. I know. I got one more day. I got to last through. Okay, your standard deviation, you take any of the numbers. I don't care what number you choose, and you subtract it from the previous tick mark, that previous deviation. So I'm just going to use the mean, 10.5 minus the 1 before it. So minus, I'll put it like this, minus the 1 before it. So minus 8.4. Whatever that is your standard deviation. That means that's how far apart it is from the mean. So go ahead and do that in your calculator because I don't have a key. What's that? 2.1. Very good. Questions on that? Pretty straightforward. You're taking one of the numbers. You could have taken 6.3 and subtracted it from 4.2 and it would have been fine. Okay. All right. So what percent of the data is above the mean? Let's talk about that for a second. Okay, you have your whole entire normal distribution. It's asking, because here's our mean, how much data is above the mean? Well, the whole thing's 100, so what would that represent? 50. Very good. That is a question you will see. Something very similar to that. Questions? Okay. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you understand what the empirical rule is. You were given that on the test. On the final, it's not like given to you. I would recommend that you write down the empirical rule on your yellow sheet so that you don't have to memorize it. But if you hopefully remember it, because it's been only a couple weeks since we've done it, the first guy is 34. The next one is 13.5 on both sides. And you remember the next one? Not 4.75. 3.5, very good. 2.3 something, which is 3.5. Then this one is 0.15. So this is something I would star, and I would make sure that you have that on your note card for number 6. Maybe like put a little box here and say, write this down for your note card. Remember, it goes in the same order. So you can write 6, 7, draw out your empirical rule, even if that's the only thing that you have on the yellow sheet. Okay, otherwise you're going to have to remember that. I don't have that on the actual final. Okay, so determine the percent of tablets with a battery life within 1 standard deviation. Whenever it says within, that means between. A couple people were asking me that last period. They didn't understand like what within meant. That means it's between that, between 1 standard deviation above and below the mean. Well, here's our mean. Here's 1 below and here's 1 above. Well, 34 and 34 makes how much percent? 68, and we're done. Okay, so if you have the empirical rule, it's pretty easy. Okay, yep. 34 and 34. Okay, I'll leave that there for a second. Oops, don't know what's going on with this computer today. Okay. Determine the percent of tablets with a battery life between 2 and 6 hours. Well, the mean is 4, so we're going to put that right in the middle. It says your standard deviation is 1, so I'm just going to add 1 and subtract 1. So I have 5, 6, 7, 3, 2, and 1. It wants between 2 and 6. So I'm going to shade that in. Here's 2, here's 6. It says between, so I'm going to shade between 2 and 6. We'll take a moment and see if you can use the empirical rule to add all that up. And we just did this on the last test. Add those 4 pieces together.
So it's like 6, 5.
You're adding the empirical rule, the percents. These guys, like 13.5, 34. Very good, 95%. Questions? Okay, go ahead and flip when you're ready. And we're not going to do all of these. Okay. The weight of a group of adult male Labrador retrievers are normally distributed with a mean of 74 pounds. Okay, so I'm going to write that out. The mean is 74 pounds. And the deviation is 4, so I'm going to write that out too. The deviation is 4. What is the value of the z-score? So always understand what the question is asking. It's asking for what is z. Well, we have a formula that's going to tell us that information. But it says with 68 on that curve. Oop, not 8, 68. Well, we have this formula, and on the final and on the beige packet, you will see that the formula is given to you. So I have z is equal to your x value, which is 68, minus our mean, which is 74, all over 4. Now, before you even actually calculate this, is there one I can cross off? What do you think? Anyone know? Like, I can cross off one of those answers right away, just if you understand what the question's saying. Did you say something? No.
It's not going to be positive.
Very good. It's not going to be positive. C is gone. Okay, here's why. 68 is smaller than the mean. Remember when we talked about that? Your z-score is always going to represent, are you bigger than the mean or smaller than the mean? If you're smaller than the mean, that means you're negative. Okay, so again, understanding kind of these types of problems will get you down to a 50-50 shot. Okay, so when you get that, though, you should get negative 1.5. Anyone know why I can cross off A too? Yeah. Not necessarily. 6. Look at your z-score chart. It never goes up to 6. It only goes up to 3.5. Okay, it doesn't go up to 6. 6 is not possible. Okay, so there will never be anything higher than 3.5 as a z-score. So without even actually doing any math, if you understood the question, then you could have just gotten it right away, okay, without doing nothing. Okay, so again, always be aware that math, if it has a word problem like this, you can get some answers crossed off. Okay, let's do it again. The weight of adult female panther is in one habitat area are normally distributed with a mean of 82 and a deviation of 9.8. What percent, that's what we're looking for. When you see percent, that means you have to look it up in the chart. Weigh less than 76 pounds. Well, that's our X. Okay. This one, there's really nothing you can cross off right away. They're too close of answers for you to really say like, that's gone. Okay, but let's practice this. Remember, your z-score formula will be given to you, but let's plug it in. 76 minus 82 all over 9.8. You have to first find your z-score and then look it up in the table. Now, if you look at your beige packet, the table's kind of cut out for you, so you won't have to actually have that sheet with you. So what do you get when you find your z-score? What do you get when you find your z-score in your calculator? Very good. Remember, you always want 3 numbers. Okay, now I'm going to remind you how to use that chart if you don't remember. Hopefully you do because it hasn't been that long, but I'm going to remind you how to use that chart. So you get out that pink chart, make sure you're on the negative side, and you got to go to 0.6 on the left. And then we had 1, so we got to go to 1 on top and see where they intersect, which was at 2709. Okay, 2709. Are we okay there? Okay, so 2709 is our answer. So the one that's closest to that answer is A. Okay. 26 is pretty close. That's why we really couldn't like take a guess on that one if you had to. Okay. All right. Number 7. There is one exactly like this on your final. And I would be very hurt if you did not get this one right. It's pretty straightforward. Which one represents a normal curve? What do you think? C. Okay, this one has 2 peaks. That's not allowed. This one, the mean is all the way to the left. Okay, it has to be right there in the middle. Okay, it's not in the middle for A. So C is the answer here. Okay, this one too. You've seen this question on your test before, and it's going to be on your final again. Whenever it says least uncertainty, that means it wants more accurate data. So which one basically has more data closest to the mean is what that's saying. Take a look here, just kind of visually. Which one has more data really close to the mean? What do you think? Which one's more accurate? What'd you say? It's Z. Okay, the taller your graph, so I'll put a little note, the taller, the more accurate, which would give you the least uncertainty. Okay, so Z would be my answer. The taller, the more accurate. Think about that. If I put some dots on this graph, dot, 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 there are more dots that are closer to Z, the average, than X and Y. Look how far apart X is. They're further away. Okay? That one, I'm telling you, is like very close. Okay? And that's where we're going to end today because there's not a question like 9 on there. Okay, so you have a very long time. You have 30 minutes, again, to only do 6 questions. Okay, 6 through 11. Now,